When we spoke about life cycles, we saw that there are three vital life cycle components that permit a product to come into being. These are the systems development life cycle, the project life cycle, and the product life cycle. With this sort of tripod structure of life cycles, hopefully fully acknowledged by an agile organization and all harmoniously happening, we can have a very stable framework for delivering great products. However, one thing is kind of missing in that framework, and the missing element is that of shared common understanding within the context of product tactics. But what do I mean by that? What is this sudden element we're throwing into the mix that has to do with shared common understanding? Okay, let's explain this. SDLC, the project lifecycle, and the product lifecycle, although having some level of overlap to a certain extent, are essentially different fields of knowledge. As a consequence of this, people operating within these life cycles do not always speak a common language. For example, I'm a product manager and you're a software developer, and I tell you that the search bar on the Google search homepage is a functionality. My assumption when I said this is that we share a common understanding of what the term functionality is, but for you as software developer, maybe you simply refer to the search bar as a feature, and for a business analyst, that feature is simply the result of translating a user requirement that was gathered some time ago and related to, say, the ability to search by typing some search terms. And for a project manager, on the other hand, the search bar by itself would likely not be that completely important, as long as the project is running smoothly to deliver the product to customers. So this simple example illustrates that a shared understanding of product-related terminology is not always that obvious for people working across the different life cycles because of the different perspectives being taken. This could lead to potential confusion, misinterpretation of intent, possible disagreements, and so on. And that's also partly because Agile product management hasn't properly witnessed the definition of reference models that bring all of these perspectives together, where we could say, yes, I understand clearly what we mean by a feature, a requirement, a user story, and so on and so forth. Just like there is this current challenge of sharing a common understanding across Agile product management, project management, and software development, this has also prevailed in the area of conventional product engineering for a long time. However, the difference is that reference models have been developed in product engineering especially to make it easier to promote the shared understanding of product-related terminology. These reference models are more technically known as ontologies. And in a nutshell, ontologies are models that allow you to capture and represent the meaning of concepts and terms for a certain domain of interest. Here's one such reference model, which is an attempt to bridge a common high-level understanding across the field of Agile product management, drawing from business analysis, a bit of software testing, and a tiny bit of project management. Let's look at what's in the model. We'll start off with the concept of product, which is at the center of the model, and we'll say that a product, in our context, is a software application that necessarily comprises of some feature or features and fulfilling some requirement. Notice how the named relationships between the concept product, requirement, and feature allow us to build the definition of product. For the term requirement, we'll use part of the definition provided in the BA BOK. The BA BOK is basically the business analysis body of knowledge, which states that a requirement is a usable representation of a need. And additionally, we'll also say that a requirement may be captured during the execution of some project. Moreover, in Agile, there's the concept of user story, and simply put, from our reference model, a user story is a specification of some requirement that considers the intended user and specifies some acceptance criterion, and we'll come back to what an acceptance criterion is in a minute. We then have the concept of feature. A feature is an attribute of interest of a product that supports some user operation. we can of course, in the context of a product, talk not just about a feature, but multiple features as well as feature sets, which deliver product functionality. From that definition, therefore, pretty much anything can be a feature when we consider a software, from the most trivial of buttons and icons to the collections of features that deliver complex functionality. And that's quite true when you think about it, because it's through the bundling of features that we can achieve functionality. In other words, the operations that users need to perform in order to accomplish some result. Which takes us to the concept of user operation. A user operation is a user-centered activity permitted through the use of some product feature and involving at least one step. And a step is a user operation-based atomic activity that has an expected and actual result during testing. Atomic in the sense that a step holds by itself and cannot be further broken down. Now, if you are one step ahead of me at this point, you could have picked up that operations and steps are the sort of things we talk about when we are in the testing realm. In the next lesson, we'll get to see a small example of how to build a UAT checklist, taking into account the concepts of operation and step. So we'll definitely be seeing that bit again. And of course, we have the concept of acceptance criteria. And you already probably have a gist of what this is if you work in Agile. So based on our reference model, an acceptance criterion is a condition specifying some expected result when testing some operation in order to be deemed acceptable and complete. And finally, of course, let's not forget the concept of project, whose definition here we're going to reuse from the BA BOK, and that's pretty concise. And we also have the user concept, which is, well, a stakeholder who utilizes a product and is intended to perform some user operation. Awesome, looks like we've covered our reference model that bridges the realms of product management, business analysis, touching on a little bit of project stuff, as well as a bit of software development stuff, all at a very high level. The reference model here is actually available for you to download as slides and will prove handy when thinking of or talking about product tactics, especially when your audience is composed of individuals coming from different fields of knowledge. That way, you can ensure you're all on the same wavelength and speaking a sort of common language. Before we move on to the next lesson, we'll do one thing and convert our tripod of life cycles into an even more stable structure that's a pyramid, and we'll use the bottom face of that pyramid as layer for the reference model. So this analogy is basically for iterating that building great products demands the lifecycle clockworks to be functioning well, but also demands a shared understanding of product-related concepts that impact different audiences and stakeholders.